What's up guys, Joe with Dradger Farms. I'm a habitat specialist with Whitetail Habitat Solutions alongside Jeff Sturgis and the gang. Hope everyone is doing well. Today we are out putzing around a little bit. I still had some work to do before the forestry mulcher comes for the turnarounds back in the woods that I've kind of been talking to you guys about. Probably the last video or two as we started the new year. There were some trees in the way, and usually those machines, if you haven't used them before or brought someone out, they typically do up to 6, maybe 8 inches for the most part. That's what I'm told and have seen work in the past. Otherwise, it just slows the machine down too much as it hits the tree and has to get back up to speed. But anyway, so we got those kind of clear, and we also had some fun walking around with the forester, a local guy named Jeff. He's been pretty awesome. And what we did was really took a look around at some of the other invasives that I have that deer may not be using as much. If you guys have been following Jeff Sturgis for quite some time now, then you probably know that we have this double-edged sword when it comes to invasives. If we are going into a property and we're recommending, hey, I see all this autumn olive, I really want you to start getting rid of this, but we are not replacing it with some other good type of habitat, then we are taking habitat away from the property. So I really want you guys to be thinking about that. What natives are coming up, how is things meant to look once we get rid of some of these invasives, and what is the surrounding land that's right outside the invasives are mixed in? What does that look like? What do we kind of expect from that seed bed? So bear that in mind. I think that's kind of tried and true, right? We don't want to get rid of habitat and make things worse off. We're kind of going backwards, and especially a lot of people going into government grants and things like that. Maybe they get a little income or whatever the case may be, and they're looking at a lot of that stuff. So bear that in mind. We definitely found some multiflora rose, some, of course, autumn olive, and what else did we find? Honeysuckle and buckthorn. So it's a little bit tougher with no leaves and 6 inches of snow on the ground, but it's nice to kind of reaffirm, what you're thinking with them, and ultimately just have a good time, learn a little bit along the way. So I had fun with that. Finished the trail stuff, and now we're on to the last bit of fun. It is a really windy day. That's why I'm here in the barn. I think up to 45-mile-an-hour winds for like a day or two. This week we have an advisory in effect. I wanted to touch on a couple other things I learned walking around with the forester that might help you guys. The first one is when it comes to removing these invasives, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You guys have probably heard of hack and squirt, and there's girdling, which, typically for bigger trees, etc. But one thing that we talked about was called basal bark. Might sound familiar. I wasn't overly familiar with it as far as I haven't practiced it before and things like that. But essentially you don't have to cut into the, shrub or tree to practice this. So with basal bark, he recommends using Garlon 4, not 3, for some reasons I can't remember right now. And that is also the same as Triclopyr 4 as well. So remember, guys, when you're reading labels or doing research or online, there are synonyms, different names for similar herbicides. They just kind of have, I don't know why, different companies call them different things or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times when you look it up, there will be something kind of right under the picture is near the price, and it'll say like also known as, and it might list it out right there. So you'll notice that in this case. But Triclopyr 4 or Garlon 4 will work for this basal bark method. And so essentially you can go around with your sprayer. You're not supposed to, have any snow on the ground, and obviously you don't want to overly douse it and get that into the soil. I didn't look up a residual, but that might be one of the reasons why they don't want you to do that. And then runoff, of course, of snow into ditches or wetlands, of course, we don't want. But the cool thing about this method is that you don't need to cut into things, especially when they're under 2 inches. Now, if it's over 2 inches, maybe you have a giant honeysuckle or a buckthorn tree and it's just over 2 inches, then at that point, you're probably going to want to break into that cambium layer or flush cut it and just spray the stump. So I just thought it was really neat that you could take a simple backpack spray, you could go for a nice walk through the woods, whatever, and you could mix this in. Now, the ratio that you can find online and that my forester recommended was 20% of the herbicide, the Garlon 4, and 80% diesel, actually. And that's part of allowing it, I think, to stay on the tree. Basically, they called it oil-based, not water-based, and that's what allows, I guess, part of this to work. So I just thought that was a lot easier. So if you're not carrying around a saw or something like that, that's great. I know when the snow finishes melting here, I'm going to get out there and knock that out. But I thought that might help some of you guys. For many things, yes, you can just do like glyphosate or 2,4-D or mix them together and just kind of a kill all. But I think that would require either, being a foliar, like spraying it on the leaves, or really messing up that cambium layer, cutting the tree, girdling it, whatever, and spraying that way, or hack and squirt, which is like with a hatchet. So this being something a little bit different, I just thought it was awesome. Wanted to bring it to you guys. If you have any questions on that, let me know. They weren't too hard to identify in the wintertime, even without the leaves and things, but it was funny to see some of these invasives. They're actually somewhat shade tolerant, and some of them are the first to like leaf out. And we even saw little itty bitty, leaves or buds, definitely buds, but even like little itty bitty leaves this early, or this, in the middle of winter essentially. So get out there and have fun with it. So for the rest of the time, I have been putzing around selling a little bit of firewood as we do timber stand improvement. That's something that I like to do. I do leave some of the logs in the woods, but I also bring some back and sell that. So that's been fun. Local people hitting me up, family members, all kinds of stuff. Actually sold out pretty quick on a large load we did a week or two ago, my cousin and I. And so now I'm going to build something where I can, do that saran wrap and make some bundles, and maybe build something out for the front of the barn where people can come by and they can pick wood up and just load it into their truck or what have you also. So this is what I have to start. I basically just bought some treated wood yesterday. These are 2x8, so we have about 7.5 inches to kind of lay the logs. Hopefully they kind of hold. I'm going to make this U basically and put it on a stand. And so that way I can come and I can place the logs in the U, and then I can take this saran that I bought. You can look on Uline or Amazon or what have you. This was basically the cheapest I could find, but I got a box of this stuff. This is the 3-inch. If you guys are someone that likes to dabble with this stuff, this is a 3-inch, stretch wrap. Came with a little cheap plastic handle, and basically on both sides of the bundle, I saw a couple other people on YouTube doing, instead of the middle, but both outside edges on the wood, we will saran. So we'll just go around here, whoop, whoop. Other side, same thing, go around it, and it'll work just the same. It'll be raised up so we can save our backs. Before we were kind of laying out, full saran and then trying to roll it and keep it tight as best we could. And man, my back was toast after doing that. So it'll be kind of fun. Basically, more or less just pay for my diesel to drive up here and back. Other than that, not too much, but that's all right. What else? And then I bought a couple things to maybe make some V stands, basically cinder blocks and some other, might have to buy some more 2x6 or something to kind of make a V and just do a stack and sell that for whatever price. So that's what I'm going to be putzing on for the rest of the day. We have the mulcher out on Wednesday, so if you haven't seen one of those, you're unfamiliar or what have you, I'll try and bring you some of that action. Definitely don't want to get too close. If that mulcher hits fence or something like that, it basically spits out bullets, essentially. So you really got to be careful. I brought to you guys, the marking and kind of some of the prep work that we did. So be out there. I'll try and bring you the finished product when I get this done here. And we'll be back in a few days to have some fun with that mulcher. We are on our way. Got my U done for those that might be interested. I just threw on a little 2x4 here in between. I didn't notice that really, but I did pre-drill some of this. I'm sure many of you could engineer something much better. I just came up with this on the fly, thinking about it at home or whatever. But I think it's going to work. And then lastly, I'm just going to throw a couple legs, I think, to kind of base it out. Wanted it to be simple, rather lightweight, even though it is treated wood. Shouldn't come apart. But yeah, that's what I got so far. All right, guys, here is our finished product. Not too shabby, huh? Even every squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, something like that. Anyways, so if anyone is curious, this board is 14 inches. These two are 12. Pre-drilled a little, just screwed it in, tried to make it as square as I could. 40-inch 2x4s. I probably could have put another little sliver of a 2x4, but there's one down there in the middle. And then 24-inch legs. Personally, I kind of just slightly angled the legs, which is why you see some gaps and stuff down there. The reason I did that is because if the ground's a little bit uneasy, I thought lifting it up and kind of having the pressure points on the feet was just smarter. And I think I lucked out also on that one, guys, because she is pretty sturdy. It almost like, it doesn't bounce because it's such a little bit of a gap and there's 2 screws in each thing, but I think it's much better than if it was flat and your ground was a little uneven. It would be rocking much more. So I think it worked out very nice for something that probably took me a little less than an hour to do. So I'm gonna give her a try. I don't have too much more time today. We're doing the first couple bundles. Got one done right there. It is pretty tight. It's working dang good. Right now, I just found this pile I kind of forgot about behind my barn that it was just drying / rotting at this point, but a lot of the upper pieces are still great. Some hardwood mixed in. So the length on these, since I cut them a long time ago, are a little bit short. So I have to basically wrap one side, slide them over, wrap the other, but it makes them tight. And I think once I start cutting like a pure, 16 inches, it's gonna work great. I'll make these a little bigger, but when I cut 16 inches, because if this is 7.5 inches wide, you definitely have 3 inches or more on both sides to just do it real quick and be done. Now that I have so much experience with this, I would say you might be able to make this bottom board an inch shorter, do like 13, maybe even 12 to hug it a little tighter. Just depends how big you want to make your bundles, but it's nice to have them somewhat compressed before you wrap them, just so they're nice and tight when you're carrying them around or delivering them or whatever. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and it's been a lot of fun.